Grand Rising, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co host, Trey Holiday, and you guys know I got my other co host over there, Big O. What's up, Big O?
Trey Holiday, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, man. It's hump day, baby. We're almost there, getting there already.
Almost there. Hump day it is. It's very good to see you, Treyana.
You as well, my friend. You as well.
We gonna have to hook back up in person here soon, man.
Man.
I haven't seen you in person in a minute.
I don't know that we've ever went this long without seeing each other. Oh, yes, I'm missing you, my friend.
Well, I miss you too. Before we get started today, I want to give a big shout out to everybody who's joining us, of course, here in Seattle, but of course, we have a growing viewership in Pierce County and in Snohomish County and Everett and Tacoma and beyond. You know, down there in Lakewood on the base on Lewis McCord. Over in Tri-Cities, in Franklin County, and Benton County, and Yakka, Vegas. Look at her. Yeah, Jake's from around that way. Over in Spokane and even down there in Portland. Want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us today. Also want to encourage you, tag and share the stream with a friend. Let us know. Let them know, like, what's up and that we're out here. So, the other thing too is later on in the show, I think we got a clip here from your next episode of Chats with Trey.
Yes, so excited. Finally getting one of our community icons, man, Isaiah Anderson. So interesting. He's got great things lined up. So I'm glad we're going to promo it, man.
All right, and also we've got a snippet from this Sunday's episode of Vote Black Love 2020. Man, we had a great response. We aired the first episode last Sunday at 7 p.m. with the Yarbros, and that video is doing really well. Great feedback. And this Sunday at 7 p.m. we got the Turners, and so we're excited about that as well. And yeah, I guess we'll jump right into it. I got a few things before we get in. It's a pretty big news day, at least for me. This is my first time they asked me to write an opinion about the state of our democracy here in Washington State. And let me add this here. You can go to the Crosscut. This is at the Crosscut right here, and I'm there. And man, look at this drawing that they did. This is fire, right?
I love it. Come on, man, with your mask and everything. iPhone ready, red phone, baby. The original.
Let me put this in here. They got the red phone up there and everything. Like what? The gas mask, all of that. But it's a real serious piece there on the Crosscut. I think Nikki will probably put the link in the stream. But it says Black media is vital for Seattle's future and must be protected. So invite everybody to go over to the Crosscut and check that out. And a big shout out to the Crosscut, to Mason and Mark over there on the lookout. And this is important. Our media is important. And I want to be clear, we're not saying that other people's media isn't. We're just saying that we were created to uplift Black media. That's what and not to tear down any other media.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. It's about really representing the diverse voices that are out there in the ecosystem, man. And, we knew that our community needed this, man. And it's clear we're getting such great response from community. So this is another great shout out to you. Oh, man, doing it big. Just like I'm enjoying this, man. Just like what you got going on November 14th. So excited for all these amazing things, man.
Well, yeah. Well, so that's the positive. Now let's get into the news. NAACP yesterday, they came and they called out Superintendent Juneau, and they're saying that they want Superintendent Juneau to go, as in right now, resign. Here's a clip right here from King 5, and we'll discuss it on the other side.
The NAACP is making some pretty serious accusations against Seattle Public School Superintendent. It wants the school board to terminate her contract. King 5's Natalie Swaby is following this developing story.
NAACP leaders and students gathered here at Seattle Public Schools headquarters claiming Superintendent Juneau has not done enough to address systemic racism. In fact, some even said they feel the problem's gotten worse since she's had the job.
We should not continue to have to play defense when it comes to fighting against racism in our school district.
On October 5th, leaders of the NAACP Youth Council started a petition calling for Superintendent Denise Juneau to be fired. Students say there have been ongoing problems with racism.
On several occasions where we would express to her that we don't feel like our voices are being heard, and she would just kind of sweep our opinions under the rug.
They point to the most recent and available data from the state's Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. It finds nearly 80% of Seattle School District's teachers are white.
There were 7 African American males that were working in some supervisory position. Within 2 years, there were no African American males within those advisory positions.
NAACP leaders are also raising concerns about student performance and discipline because just 38% of black students met standards in English language arts. For math, it's 27.4%, and science, 21.8%. But when it comes to discipline, like suspensions and expulsions, the numbers show black students receive more discipline than any other race.
This is the issue that we've been trying to work with her, to address with her, to eliminate the achievement gap, to address all the systemic racism that goes on, but she has no care whatsoever.
We requested an interview with the superintendent today. The school district instead provided the following statement that says, in part, that the district has an unwavering commitment to racial justice in public education. It goes on to say that the district developed the program Seattle Excellence, a 5-year strategic plan centered on supporting students of color who are furthest from educational justice. I also received a letter today from some community leaders who are supporting the superintendent, saying that they feel she has centered her work on addressing inequities in the district. In Seattle, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
All right, Trey Holiday, the NAACP wants the superintendent to go. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's important. We've been talking about, educational disparities right here on the Converge platform for a long time. It's one of your major 3 components to really have folks looking at right now and following the tracks of how we're going to have real change with those big 3 that you always mention. Education is one of them. And I think when we ask folks and we're demanding folks to actually be responsible for the positions of power they hold in these educational systems, it's important that, folks be able to utilize their voice like the NAACP did here to actually make sure other folks are appraised as to these concerns. And I think it's important for the larger public to know, again, they reported that there's some folks on both sides of this. So it would be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, it will be interesting, and maybe producer Nikki Barron can put in the link that we did to a Community Voices. Our archive is growing here. We did a Community Voices with school board directors Hampson, DeWolf, and Hersey. And when we did that Community Voices, what we came to find out is the school district itself, the actual way it's set up, that it operates, is very antiquated. It's very old, and what Director Hampson said, I was like, well, if you look at school districts across the country and just the way that the structure works, are we in best practice? And they were kind of like, well, not so much. The only reason why I bring that up is that black children have continued to underperform no matter who the superintendent is. There might be a much bigger issue at play here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I said, you know what I'm saying. I can't say that anymore. Nikki won't let
We're
me
gonna have
say
to get
it.
a coin jar over there.
But to the point, it isn't like black children were excelling at such a high level, and then Superintendent Juneau came in, and then they just went into a nosedive. And I think that might point to a bigger thing. And when we talk about fixing Seattle public schools, I think that it's a comprehensive fix. This is $1 billion school district where they still use paper and folders and all kinds of stuff and everything else. But I do want to say this, because oftentimes we bring up this issue of education, Trey Holiday, and we talk about administrators and we talk about community, and we a lot of times teachers get thrown under the bus. And there are a lot of teachers in Seattle Public School District that are actually out there and they're doing a good job and they're trying to make it happen and everything else. And we get feedback from teachers. They're like, well, you guys just throw the whole school district under the bus. So I want to acknowledge that there are other teachers out there. But I think that we kind of saw this coming down the pipe, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'll say a couple of things here. Oh, one is that, there are great teachers within the district. Absolutely. Hands down, there are. What we keep talking about here is the fact that it's not about the individual effort of these great teachers, right? There isn't enough of that effort happening, unfortunately, to change the system. And this is why we talk about it from such a systemic perspective, because we understand that, once again, putting Band-Aids on a system that is going to continue to create scabs where you need Band-Aids doesn't really fit the bill. And then furthermore, to address, specifically what the NAACP was concerned about, I think you're absolutely right. We can't always talk about the statistics and say that is the fault of one particular authoritative department, body, or anything. But I do think that what the young woman spoke of there, in terms of trying to address racial concerns directly with the superintendent, those are the things that I think, she definitely needs to be responsible for.
Right. And I would agree with that. And one thing also that I'm waiting to hear from as well, and I challenge Director Hersey and DeWolf every time I talk to them, and the one time that I talked to Director Hampson, is who's holding parents responsible? Who's holding parents accountable? And, it's a different era or whatever, but, my mama used to catch the 48, and she'd be over there. We went to where NAM is right now. It was Summit K-12. You know what I'm saying? We ain't had no car, wasn't no Zoom, wasn't no cell phone or nothing. My mama used to get on the bus and be up in the building and making sure that we was doing what we were supposed to do. And now with all this technology, I'm like, okay, this is cool. Let's hold the superintendent accountable. Let's hold these parents accountable. How many times you been up there to the school? I mean, it's virtual now. How many times you talk to the teacher? Are you aware of the curriculum? Are you aware of the reading list? Are you checking the homework and everything else? So, I mean, let's take accountability all the way around this process here. Let's hold the superintendent accountable. Let's hold our parents accountable, and of course, the children and teachers.
Absolutely. Oh, it is a full, well-round perspective here. It's a wholesome approach.
All right, a quick one right here. You guys saw Devon and Kiana Pickett on the Morning Update show a few weeks ago, and they talked about they're trying to expand. Go to the Puget Sound Business Journal. We might be able to drop the link in there. They're looking for $5 million. I know we got some $5 million viewers out there, but they're expanding their business. The Postman. Big shout out to Devon and Kiana Pickett. They're there in the Puget Sound Business Journal, and again, looking to expand their postman business across the CD and the other parts of the city.
Yeah, so exciting to see this business expanding. Once again, really an example of doing it, our way. And I love that. I mean, creating a real opportunity for folks to have, mail services. When the post office went down, it was such a great resource and community, gained so much community respect and community love, right? It became a community hub. Not only are you going there to do, postman type services, but you're also bumping into neighbors and catching up with old friends. So once again, a great staple of the community. I love it. Love that. Right.
So producer Bobby Steels, he went into the time machine yesterday, and we were having this conversation about Councilmember Sawant and how I came up with the term "yo girl," right? And people was like, "Oh, well, Shreya's girl is not your girl," and I said like how you did an interview and how you guys, I was supposed to do the interview, but you guys were chatting pre-interview, and it was like, man, that's your girl. Go ahead with it right there. Bobby Steels went into the archives. This is actual audio. It's audio from 1 minute. It's about a 1 minute audio of you and the council member having a discussion about what the future of Seattle looks like.
What do you think Seattle will look like in 10 years at the current rate?
Really, at this moment, we are in some ways at a crossroads. There are two competing visions for Seattle. Mm-hmm. One vision is the vision that Vulcan and Amazon and the billionaires, Howard Schultz, who's the billionaire CEO of Starbucks and who lives in District 3, the politicians who support these billionaires, they have a vision which they're already carrying out, which is a city that is gorgeous, has incredible natural beauty, but is only affordable to people who are rich is only a space where big business can thrive. And in that vision, small businesses, especially immigrant and Black and LGBTQ owned businesses, have very little space to grow or, let alone thrive in. And you have masses and masses of working people getting pushed out of the city, getting pushed into homelessness, which is one of the most devastating experiences a human being can have. And there is another vision. There's a vision of Seattle being truly affordable for everybody, regardless of income, regardless of race, regardless of national origin.
So there you go. It's almost, 18 months ago. Like I was telling people that Councilmember Sawant is, there's no elected official that I've done more interviews or more production with than Councilmember Sawant. And even when COVID first came, we used to get because I was like, man, we're in the district, we're gonna hold you accountable. And every week during COVID, we talked to Councilmember Sawant and everything else. So I'm just letting people know I don't have a problem with anybody. I'm really a happy, optimistic person. But like I said, I hope my brother wins his election, because I'm gonna be on him too. What's up with this? What's up with this? What's up with that? That's much different than having a problem with somebody. But anyways, the council member rallied all of people in D3 and her supporters and talked about the people's budget. And one of the questions that I had for you and for Julie C., who's been covering this, is the people's budget working hand in hand or in the same ideas of the solidarity budget? Luckily for me, Councilmember Sawant said something about that 17 minutes in. These meetings go very, very long. But this is what the Councilmember Sawant had to say in regards to her people's budget and the solidarity budget.
In the wake of the historic George Floyd movement, many are getting active in fighting for a humane budget that works for working people. So our office and Socialist Alternative are proud to be among the more than 100 organizations signing on in support of what is being called the solidarity budget. The people's budget is in solidarity with the goals of the solidarity budget. We all want to defund the police by at least 50%. We want real community say in the hundreds of millions of dollars and how they should be used, and that they should be used for our Black and brown communities, not to continue the status pro big business status quo. We want to increase massively the amounts of permanently affordable housing to fight gentrification. And for that, we need to increase the Amazon tax and also to stop the cuts. The key question here, sisters, brothers, fellow activists, is one of strategy. How can we actually win these demands? Because it's not enough to make the demands. We have to win those demands, because that's what makes real change in people's lives.
All right. That's your girl.
I mean, you know what? I'll just say this to all the viewers out there. I never really give him too much crap when he says that Shama's my girl, because honestly, for me, I think that it is time for some radical change. So much of what her campaign stands for is a part of my activism. And so there's a lot of alignment there, right? And to hear her say that, just yesterday you asked me and I'm like, hey, you know what, we may have to reach out. And so I'm glad that she was able to, basically in the same day, we get that great response to hear that. I knew there was alignment there. And it's great to know that, everything will really be in solidarity together. So that's awesome.
All right. Well, like I said, it'll be interesting as well if the solidarity, because my observation on the solidarity budget is that a lot of the same stuff that's in the solidarity budget, except for divest from SPD, is some of the same things that the mayor's office has been talking about. So we'll see if there's any points over there for agreement. We already know there's lots of points for disagreement. Follow up here the other day, we talked about the campaign from Disability Rights Washington, talking about the young kids that are in foster care that are being shipped out of state to this place called Sequel Care. They got a lot of campuses across the country, and there's allegations that Sequel Care, man, they're not treating these young people very well. There was actually a death in, I believe, a facility in Michigan. And, well, the State Department of Children, Youth, and Families, they got right back to us yesterday. So this says two things. This says, one, is that people are paying attention, and two, that people who are viewing on our platform are probably very active, because The state, they sent this. This is up on their website as well. Let me put this up here. I can read the last little bit. It says, Disability Rights Washington recently raised concerns about placements within specific multi-facility providers. And basically what they're saying here is that they're reviewing everything. So this is on their website. I think Nikki can probably put the link to this. Well, I got you dropping all the links today, Nikki. Put a link to this in the chat. But basically what the state is saying is that they heard Disability Rights Washington loud and clear. They're aware of the problem. They said that there was a lot more children that they had out of state. Previously, there's still some. I think there's 17 now that are left. They said that they're reviewing. And if there's any instances that these children are being mistreated or the company or facility is bad, then they're going to find an alternate situation. But the most important thing is the state got right back to us directly, which is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and again, this is something that, folks need to care about. I mean, we had Jamaica Haynes on here talking about, the foster care system and really giving a great look to that. And once again, I mean, something for us to stay in contact with, in tune with, something for us to follow up on. I'm trying to switch my words up because I always say, something for us to follow up on. So I'm trying to stop that too. But really,
but we do though. I think that's the one thing we're pretty good at. Did I lose you? I think I did. So, it looks like we've lost Trey Holiday there for a second. We're going to go and take a break. We need to take a break anyway. When we come back, we are talking about the mayor's task force. They're going to meet today and quite a few other stories going on around town. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. 共同của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
بلشدة هي بقارها.
My community, my clinic.
Turners.
Hi, we're the Turners. My name is Vicky Turner.
My name is Marlon Turner. We met on the campus of University of Louisiana Monroe, and was, immediately attracted. Come on.
I'm just kidding.
Black marriage, man, and black love is really important. Seeing this, kind of the building of the black family is definitely something that we need to continue. There was a lot of pressure, man, for this engagement, and a lot of pressure.
But love language. So you can't expect every person to do the same thing or do what you want them to do. All you can do is learn again their love language and express the things that you like, and hopefully you guys can meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I like that right there.
I love it. The Turners.
Vote Black. Look, we even got closer. You see what I'm saying? Hey, Trey, before we keep moving here with the headlines, I think it's a good segue right here to talk about this upcoming episode of Chats with Trey. That's this Friday at 2 o'clock. We'll play this right now, and I'll let you tell us about it real quick.
Coming up this week on Chats with Trey.
This week on Chats with Trey, we got Isaiah Anderson, a beloved community member and definitely somebody y'all have seen on stage, behind the scenes, and in front of the camera. I'm so excited to have him, Isaiah Anderson.
All right, look at you. And Isaiah's a funny dude too.
Man, he's just so naturally funny, just having him on the set. Honestly, I mean, in between during our commercial break, he's just cracking jokes, man. He's just naturally funny. And, you got to love the way that he's dedicated so much of his work and, his effort in community. So, I'm happy that Chats with Trey can up with folks like that in community because there's so many amazing folks.
Okay, there we go. So let me see here. What else do we have here? I got one more thing to pull out. Then we'll jump in here to the mayor and what the mayor is talking about. Is that, let's see, the AP says that it turns out that most of the people who get arrested at protests aren't leftist radicals. I mean, no surprise there if you've been following our reporting on what's going on in the protests and everything else. But there was a lot of talk that it's like leftist radicals have taken over and some of everything else. I mean, and to be honest with you, there's some people who are just ill on all sides of this issue that's out there. You see what I'm saying? That are very polarized, and that's what they were saying. That most people who are arrested never been in trouble before. They don't have any affiliations with anything. Everything. People are just mad.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately,
they want change.
Yeah, I'm glad that, the AP was able to basically confirm, and affirm what we knew to be true. I mean, being on the ground, you've been reporting it. There's a lot of folks that came out, that folks were pent up with COVID, repressions and all that in their homes. So we saw a lot of folks out there. Not surprising that the numbers reflect that.
Yeah, there it is. Also, and did I lose you right here? Let's talk about the mayor and what's going on here. So the task force meets today for the first time. And I guess anything that you do with the city, it's kind of like orientation, any kind of new job or situation. And these guys are getting paid. So don't know exactly how much, although I do have an FAQ thing. I'll see if I can pull up here on the screen. But this is the agenda for today for the task force. 2 to 3:30. Welcome check-ins and agenda. 2:30 to 3:10. How can we support you? I think this is the city saying, how can they support you? Provide clarity in questions, ensure seamless logistics, support organization structures, facilitate development of community agreements. Then they got a briefing, FAQ from the legal. Let me bring this back up here. Briefing from the racial equity toolkit, and then reflection, checkout, and next steps. Trey Holiday, this is the agenda for the first meeting of the task force. Any thoughts?
Well, yeah, it sounds like they're setting the foundation, and being a part of, different task forces, coalitions, committees. I'm familiar with this kind of agenda and setup, and it looks like, what they're trying to do is set the foundation. I think, once again, and what we just uplifted in the teach-in for King County Equity Now the other day, I think, I'll say it again here. King County Equity Now said, look, we officially invite task force members to join our process. Because again, I think that invitation is still open for them to be thinking about, taking this to a different kind of process. Even hearing the term like, organizing these community agreements, I think that's got to be a part of it. But again, thinking about how we could do it differently. For me, it just sounds better than that. Really sounds like some of the old normal that I was used to, though.
Well, I mean, any organization, you got to get onboarded, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, no matter where you work, it could be like McDonald's, it could be Amazon. I'm sure even there at Africa Town or anywhere, day one, you got to go through the manual and understand the processes. But here's the thing is, and so actually, I reached out. And as I said, we follow up. I reached out to the mayor's office last week and said, there's a lot of questions. You guys need to just make some kind of FAQ or something. And what Kamaria Hightower said was that was something they were already working on. And let me just see if I can grab this here. And now I'm back. Voila, the magic of TV. So this is the FAQs, and now I gotta go back to another screen. Sorry, everybody. I'm trying to do too much out here today. Wow. So this is on the website, and they got quite a few things on here. Here's the timelines. Frequently asked questions. How is the Equitable Committee's initiative funded? Oh, man. Is this participatory budget process? Will the task force provide recommendations on community safety to SPD? Oh, this is interesting. The city will continue to engage with communities on budget priorities and functional changes to Seattle Police Department as the task force develops its investment recommendations. They can include recommendations. Man, yeah. So is the city council included? Councilmember Juarez will participate as an ex officio member. We look forward to working with council to ensure the $100 million is allocated. Will task force be able to make final funding decisions? This is something people want to know. They will be able to make recommendations at a programmatic level by city charter. Any allocation of city funds, including a participatory budget process, would require legislation, and any contracts of a certain value and types are subject to competitive bid and or local and state contracting requirements. So I'll put that up here, this whole thing up here after the show. But one thing that we see right here in the FAQs, that was an important one right there, is people will want to know is, does this task force make the final recommendation as to where the money goes? And according to this FAQ here, they're saying that no, and that I think it's anything over $53,000. It has to go through this RFP program, and what they're saying here in their FAQ is even a participatory budget. It's still once the budget is set and you're looking for suppliers, those suppliers still need to go through this same process.
Well, it's really interesting because I think this, for me, brings up a case I want to introduce to our audience, which is ACE Academy. And there may be some research out here. I think that there's some more digging to do. But ACE Academy was awarded like $1 million from the city just recently, right? This is after COVID. And so I don't know that they went through an RFP process. And I think that they're a great program, like not saying anything about the program at all, but just the process, right? How sometimes it gets convoluted to the public when we see certain wins for certain, sectors that just get awarded funds. And does it come from a different process? So this is interesting, because once again, I think one of the biggest barriers for Black suppliers has been the RFP process. It's very bureaucratic. There's a lot of things that folks, have to have. There's this kind of competitive bidding that unfortunately involves a lot of pricing that has a lot of built-in disparities into the way that people even are able to get their materials. So we've seen this on the construction side. That's why I'm kind of talking about it from a construction perspective. But I think the same is true when it comes to, different sectors here and large suppliers and doing some of these large kind of RFP processes. We've seen disparities there.
Yeah. So I hear what you're saying. One thing I will say is that, this is the process. This administration, Mayor Durkan, did not create this process. This process is for people having to basically bid on contracts and everything else is a system that precedes this administration. It's been like that really for a very long time. And yeah, it would be interesting to look into when you're talking about awarding of funds, where those funds awarded under emergency powers. Because if you said that it was just awarded, I don't know if those funds were awarded underneath the emergency powers that the mayor had called into. And, I have no idea. But that's the only thing I could think of when people are able to circumvent steps. And we saw that when the state of emergency was declared here in the city, the county, and the state, that a lot of other processes were circumvented to be able to get to an end result. So, it's worth looking at it and seeing.
Definitely. And that's part of it too, is that I think the innovation that is required to really, balance the scales here, really show that Seattle's an equitable city. As we've heard the mayor say many times, showing how Seattle can lead. I think that's where the community voice always says, look, that's why we have to look at these processes, look at these systems as a whole, because maybe we need to change a lot of the way that these systems do business.
All right, let's see here. LIHI.
Look, Lehigh.
Millions. Oh, was that what it meant? Lehigh? Okay.
Yeah. Lehigh gets millions from the city, no bid. I mean, it's kind of what I'm saying. There's some, there's some type of ways that it works for certain departments, works for certain institutions. It's kind of built in again into the system. So how can those kinds of opportunities begin to reflect real equity, starting with the Black community here when we talk about, really repairing damages?
All right. Well, what I can say thus far is that one, process is moving forward. They're having their first meeting today, and we see the agenda. And I think it's too soon to be whatever. It just looks like orientation to me. What I'm saying?
Yeah.
People are getting oriented.
Agreed.
And it's like I'm sure they're probably getting a spokesperson. But with that many people have to know who can actually speak for the task force, who cannot, what are the rules and regulations of the city, what's this and that. Maybe they filling out they forms to get paid.
Gotta get that W-9 in.
Yeah, you gotta get that paperwork in. So that very well might be it today, because it looks like it's an orientation more than anything else. But what we're gonna do right here is we're gonna stay on top of it. You know what I'm saying? And definitely, and I want to have an opportunity to speak with task force members and get some of their thoughts as to what they're thinking. This is an important story, not only for our community but for our city, because this is the city saying that it's not just the mayor. The mayor is representing the city. This is the city saying that they're taking a historic step to be able to right past wrongs by investing $100 million a year for the next 10 years into, well, I guess now, BIPOC communities. And so this is this important story for the city as a whole.
Definitely is. Once again, we'll be on top of this.
All right. So moving all along, Malcontent Tango, Brother David. You guys, if you're watching the live streams, or if you were before, maybe you still are, that's the pole cam. And then David he has the pole and the camera's way up there, and it's this and that and everything else. And if you guys thought that I was a historian on the stream, man, you haven't heard David. He really goes in on the commentary, but in a good way. But he went out to Kirkland the other day, and apparently they've built a Say Their Names memorial there in Kirkland across a few churches. And so David from Malcontent Tango sent this over to us last night.
The Say Their Names Memorial is a memorial to honor Black lives taken by racial injustice and systemic racism. We wanted to find a way to memorialize those folks and open up the conversation in our communities about systemic racism.
A friend of a friend called me one day and asked about hosting a Say Your Names memorial within the city of Kirkland.
We've had a Black Lives Matter sign up, and a member of the city council drove by and said, I've been approached by someone who would like to do a memorial for all those who've died as the result of racial injustice.
Father Ryan was instrumental that he brought together 5 other faith-based organizations to host this. So I'm proud to say that 6 churches within the city of Kirkland are hosting this memorial today.
The communities seem to want to find a way to be involved, and they're excited that they get to do something hands-on to represent not only those in their communities that are part of the memorial, but also across the nation.
So as a result of having these memorials go up nationwide, we've seen so much more interest. We found that people are contacting us from all over the place, even nationwide and internationally. Our hope going forward with the memorial is that we continue to get submissions, that Stacy gets a large team of writers to be able to do justice in writing the biographies of these people, that we get beautiful imagery so we can tell the stories, we can look into their faces, we can remember what happened, we can remember their potential in their life. You can contact us by email at info@saytheirnamesmemorial.com, or you can send us a DM on Instagram at saytheirnamesmemorial.
All right, and that came to us from David over at Malcontent Tango and Say Their Names Memorial, Kirkland, Washington, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you got, for me, I'm like, love this right here. Once again, we're seeing a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of communities really stand in solidarity with this larger movement happening globally. And to see Kirkland really, work with, their community, to see these churches come together and really do, honor these lives. I mean, to me, I'm very moved by this. And again, I think that it really is about just showcasing that and doing more, beginning to change your mindset around this, because I think that you don't want to only memorialize. You also want to think about how you're changing the way that you're educating your next generation so that they can not be thinking in terms of, a lot of these racial blocks, and really be open-minded to accepting groups, for who they are. And we're all humans here. So, I love seeing that.
Right. And so you can find David at Malcontent Tango.
Great job, David.
Even if you spell it wrong, it's long enough that they'll probably autocorrect you. And David I think he does a happy hour. It's called a news show, happy hour on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. You can go and check out one of his sites for exact information. But appreciate the segment, David. So moving on along here, the other night, Mohi, they hosted a discussion, and it was me and Nikita Oliver, Enrique Cerna, and two other people. Man, I'm forgetting the names right now. But the conversation was the state of our democracy and how people feel about voting and everything else. But the night started with a video interview with Enrique Cerna talking to Larry Gossett, council member Gossett, right? And I just thought, a lot of times, man, I always like to be able to honor our elders whose shoulders we stand upon. And I wanted to just share this. This was coming right out of the video. Larry Gossett's video is not in here, but this is right when Enrique Cerna introduces me. And I just thought I just wanted to play this to people because it's important that we continuously honor our community elders that came before us.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to everybody who's joining. First off, before I answer your question, I have to pay homage to our elder and a mentor, Larry Gossett, who opened the show this evening. It's upon people like Larry Gossett's shoulders that many of us, especially from the Central District, stand upon. And actually a good segue when you talk about what's happening here in the streets. And maybe we could put some history together for a lot of people who are new to Seattle and don't really understand. What we're kind of seeing right now when you see people like Nikita Oliver and different groups in the streets, let's take it back to when Larry Gossett was out there years ago. Larry Gossett went to jail in 1968 for leading a sit-in at Franklin High School because the principal of the school sent two girls home, told them they needed to straighten their hair. Larry Gossett served jail time up there on the top of the King County Courthouse. 25 years later, he became a King County Council member.
All right now.
Down.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Our history is our history, good and bad. You know what I'm saying? And of course, Council Member Zahalai now fills the seat that the Council Member Gossett once occupied. But I couldn't be on a show where they're talking about Council Member Gossett beforehand and not mention his contribution into our community, as he's now in his 75th year. All right. So before we take a break and we come back with Wellness Wednesday, a lot of people, you remember, Trey, I was out of town in Chicago. I went out there with little O, helping move into his apartment, right? And he moved into this big apartment out there right across the street from Loyola University campus. And one of the questions I asked him was he going to use the kitchen? I was like, man, are you going to use the kitchen? Man, little O was like, I'm going to be cooking struggle meals without the struggle. And so I checked in with little O because we get lots of feedback over here. How's your son doing? Is he doing okay? Is he eating? Is he sneaking girls into his apartment? Like, what's going on? He's going to class. So I reached out to little O and I asked him how it's going in regards to the struggle meals without the struggle. You mentioned before that you were actually going to use the kitchen there, and you said you were going to make some struggle meals without the struggle. So tell us about it.
Well, let me just say, you don't realize the little things you appreciate from home. Oh, see, I made spaghetti the other day. That's one of the cheapest meals to make. But you don't realize one of the things you really miss from home is the seasoning cabinet. I didn't realize how much I used the seasoning cabinet until I had to build one from scratch. I really had to go grab all my own seasonings, figure out what I like. I miss the seasoning cabinet. Also, that's a bad picture of the spaghetti. I should have seen the later one. Did not use enough sauce, and nobody wanted to tell me that. I showed you, I showed Mom, I showed the Cajun. I had to call my Nana to figure out why my spaghetti was.
And Nana was like, You ain't got no sauce, huh?
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, you need to go get another bottle." I was like, "Thank you, man." And y'all just looked at that like it was normal.
All right. Well, people are concerned about you, and it's good to know that.
I hope you got better pictures. So I really have good. So we gotta.
I'm just working with what the producers gave me.
That's crazy because I send you every meal I cook. So the producers, the producers are.
Last question, man. How are your classes going, especially with them being online and everything? How are you acclimating to that?
I mean, kind of used to it from last semester, but it's kind of me. I like to interact, like actually interact with people. Like I would say I'm kind of social on most days, so it's just weird to be in a class. It's basically you just watching the video all day. Like, yeah, you kind of want to interact, you kind of don't. And there's these things called breakout rooms where they put us into, like, kind of know how you like have group discussions in class. And it's just like, wow, I'm really just in this room just talking to like a bunch of names on a screen. It's like, so in some sort of way, it's kind of like sad for sure. But when you look at like the cause and why everything's going on, it's like, it's definitely the right thing to be having going on right now. But you know me, I can adapt to any situation. I'll survive. I'll make it through. Perseverance.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Well, looking forward to see you soon. I just want to tell you, I'm real proud of you, son.
Appreciate it. Hey, I'm proud of you too. Like, shout out, like, going to the Mo High, got all these articles about you. You a big boss. I like to tell people my biggest flex is that I got some awesome ass parents. And some people really don't got cool parents like that. Like, both my parents are Black business owners. Like, what? I'm lit. It's like, so it's really cool. And I just be looking at these articles. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He's like, Amari, what's crazy? I'm like, bro, my dad's really doing like some crazy stuff in Seattle right now. Like, y'all got no idea.
My man, I love you, son. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too, Dad.
There it is. Best guy I know.
You gotta love that, man. I'm so glad that you allowed us to check in with him. You know what I'm saying? I've been wondering how he's doing, so it's so great to see him. And that picture of the spaghetti, man. I'm glad his grandmama set him right.
You know that's what Big Mama and them do. They get you right every time. Hey, we're gonna take a short break right now. When we come back, it's Wellness Wednesday. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omar Salisbury.
And I'm Trey Holiday.
Yay, holiday. Man. All right, so we got a good Wellness Wednesday this week. And so let me break it down here. This one, producer Nikki Barron, as usual, staying on the grind, caught up with Wanz. Says Wanz is a Seattle-based Grammy Award-winning artist, most famously known for singing the hook on Thrift Shop. You remember Thrift Shop by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis? Yeah. I'm gonna. He's also a vocal advocate and supporter of a sober lifestyle, right? And so for this Wellness Wednesday, Nikki caught up with Wanz for a little advice, especially right now. There's a lot of people, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people I know who didn't drink before COVID and protest, who now drink, and then there was people who was drinking before COVID and protest, who, my friend, so it talks about a little advice if you're feeling sober curious. I guess that's the word they use these days. We're going to have the full interview. The full interview is about 15 minutes long, and it'll be on the IG. And Wanz talks about, challenging his battles for sobriety and what it was like trying to stay sober, being on tour when you're moving around with all these you know, somebody like Macklemore, world tours and everything else. Let me find it here. Here is Wellness Wednesday, producer Nikki Barron and Wanz.
So for this Wellness Wednesday, I wanted to talk a little bit about sobriety. It is, for some people, Sober October. And I know that you have been an advocate for sobriety in music, especially, for a long time. So tell us a little bit about your life and your story.
Well, my life is long because I'm old, but the condensed version is basically, you know, I've been singing since I can remember. And that got me all the way through secondary school and into college. And I sang all through college. And then I moved to Seattle and then started getting in bands and playing and hanging out, you know, and trying to become a star. During that period, I was really in a deep depression. The relationship I was in was going. I started drinking one Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and just got completely loaded. And by 7 o'clock that evening, I was entertaining a woman and her child that were not my partners. Of course, you know, I was watching my son, so the kids had something to do, and I was like with the mom, and we were screwing around. And I got done messing around with her and went in the mirror, looked in the mirror in the bathroom, and I didn't recognize who I was looking at. That's the last time I had a drink. That was the first Saturday in August 1999. I didn't know what to do, but I had a friend suggest to me that I go to AA. And I went to an AA meeting, and they told me to come back, to find a home group, get a sponsor, read the literature. So I started doing all that stuff, and I ended up picking a meeting as my home group. And now my sober birthday is the 22nd. That's the first time I ever went to that group. And last August, I celebrated 21 years. You know, what are the benefits of sobriety? Well, mainly every day I get to wake up instead of come to. And every night I get to go to sleep rather than pass out. There's no hangovers. There's no puking. There are more than a few people over the years that are in the music community who didn't know how to broach this. They didn't know, you know, and they ask me, and I say, you know, the best place to start is I call them mind experiments. If you can do something for 10 minutes, like, you know, I just got done having top ramen for lunch. But you know what I wasn't doing when I was making that top ramen? I wasn't drinking. If you can do something for 10 minutes, you can do it for 30. If you can do it for 30, you can do it for an hour. If you can do it for an hour, you can do it for a day. And that was basically my understanding. And you know, day upon day upon day. Without alcohol, what I figured was I had a superpower, and that superpower was choice. When I got loaded all the time, there really wasn't any choice. It was like a repeat of some bad Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode over and over again. I always knew how it was going to end.
I've found that the hardest part is that comfortability, you know, like when you're out at a gathering and everybody has a drink and you're the only one without one.
Yeah, I started with orange juice and cranberry. It looked like a tequila sunrise.
Yeah, like a fake.
The word virgin takes on a whole new thing. You know, it's like, you know, Macklemore turned me on to virgin mojitos. I was like, ooh. So I drank those for a while, but I settled on, and to this day, it's like if I go out and I feel like, you know, I'm in a situation where everybody has a drink and I don't want to have to explain. I order tonic and cran with a lime.
So with AA, if you want to find a meeting, you can just search AA meeting near me on Google, probably, and find one. And if you want to go to AA, is it something where you have to work the steps and do the program? Or if you're just curious and you want to learn about it, you can show up to a meeting. What's that kind of like if you're just AA curious, I guess?
But, you know, when you're looking at a meeting, all you need to see is if it's open. Open meetings are open to everyone. But the whole thing of it is like, you know, it's all a choice. No one there is going to be, you must come back. You know, you are a drinker. You are a bad person. No one ever does that. No one ever does that. But I'll tell you what, the weirdest feeling in the world is sitting in a room of people that you don't know, and a complete and total stranger is telling you a story, and you have walked those exact steps. When somebody tells your story that you don't know, then it becomes interesting. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because you never know. Most people aren't alcoholics. There's weird. Only alcoholics count their drinks. Only alcoholics say, I'm only going to have X amount. Only alcoholics worry about other people's drinks.
Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with us. Is there any parting wisdom you'd like to leave us with about your sober journey?
Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. All we ever have is today. It's a gift, which is why they call it the present.
Thank you so much.
Wow, great job, Nikki Barron.
Yes, absolutely. What a great segment for Wellness Wednesday.
Wow, fantastic job. And man, big shout out to Wanz. And that whole interview is, you can find that on our Instagram page. You can also find it probably on our YouTube as well. And man, again, good job, Nikki. These Wellness Wednesdays, they just keep improving, week after week. It's a lot of people struggling with sobriety right now. So, that's just kind of a right on time message right there.
It really is. And I'll just say too that, Nikki's also on point with choosing these topics. I mean, Sober October, to uplift that this month is right on point. And I also think that, we have a lot of folks, we talk about so much of the financial aspects and breakdown from COVID, but there's a lot of mental too, man. Folks being in their homes, being stuck inside. So many people are social. I mean, we are almost all of us are social beings, and we're not meant to really be alone like this. And so, I'm just glad that she's uplifting this. Shout out to you, Nikki, man. Way to go, the
whip in the building. All right, so before we get out of here, I'm gonna bring this up here again. This is dope. This drawing gets me.
I love it. I love it. It's so you,
man,
I love it.
Like I gotta reach out and see if I can get that the illustration there.
Yeah,
and get that frame to put it up. But in the crosscut today, so you guys go over to the crosscut, check it out. Black media is vital for Seattle's future and must be protected. And I think one of the best things about what I wrote right here is really acknowledging our legacy media, and that's acknowledging the Seattle Medium, KRIZ and KZIZ, the Facts newspaper. You know what I'm saying? These guys have been, they're icons in our community, and also newer media. When you talk about the South Seattle Emerald and you talk about Rainier Avenue Radio, and probably one of the newest, Converge, with a few years under our belt. There's also a lot of great podcasters out there and everything else. So this is just an acknowledgement to Black media, and yeah, check it out, read it, tag it, share it. But most of all, know that it's like somebody like Converge. If you appreciate what we're doing right here today, know that we stand on the shoulders of people like Chris Bennett and shoulders of Fitzgerald Beaver, who were giants a generation before us.
Absolutely. Always gotta pay homage to those who really have paved the way. And I love this explosion of new media, and also the collaboration between all of these, new media formats. It's beautiful to witness. I'm glad our city has something so strong when it comes to Black media.
All right. And the last thing I would say is if you do appreciate this Black media, we need your support. We operate 100%, man, like off of donations. We'll get an ad every once in a while. And we're building up our ad platform. But right now, we operate off of donations. If you like what we're doing, if you want to support us, either one-time donation or you could subscribe with subscription. Subscribe to us every month. Subscriptions start at $5. And you could just go online right now, and I think Nikki had put the link in there to whereweconverge.com/donate. And, we would appreciate any donation that you can make. And don't worry, if you don't have no money to donate, man, send us some positive vibes. Prayers are always welcome as well.
Absolutely.
There it is. Trey, Holiday, I'm standing up on this side.
Let's do it, man.
All right. Until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace. Oh, well, let's bring us closer real quick.
There we go.
There we go. Peace.
Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day.